and welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. Thanks for being with me today. As always, I appreciate it. I know your time is valuable. Today on the Visionary Chronicles, we're going to take a further look into the new book I just released, The Visionary Leader, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. And by the way, I am proud to announce that The Visionary Leader just made the Amazon #1 bestseller business category list. It goes and comes and goes very quickly, but when you do get it, you are notified. So very proud of that. But more importantly, I want to thank you and all that supported its launch and success throughout the past several months. So thank you again. But I always say, most importantly for me, is really those who reach out to me after getting the book and letting me know how they've applied the knowledge that I put into the book to their day-to-day. Either personally or professionally, I hear both, and both are great. So we're going to talk a little bit further on the next chapter in the book, which I've been talking about over the past couple months. This one relates to a chapter in the book that I have called The Passion, and it's one of those principles that most visionary leaders have. And I've entitled this one, When Vision Meets Fire, which I thought was for me, a great title, How Passion Drives Visionary Success. So welcome back to the Visionary Chronicles, where we explore what sets true visionaries apart from everyday leaders. And so before we dive into today's episode, and also talking about the Visionary Leader, it's available across all booksellers. And the book really extracts the essential principles that transform what I call ordinary leaders into extraordinary visionaries. How did they do it? And what I loved about it is I just didn't use present-day leaders. I went back generations, back to Socrates, to Jesus, to Gandhi. All of these great visionaries you don't normally think as being visionaries, even Alexander the Great, who was a great story in the book, and probably the one that I'm getting the most feedback on was Alexander the Great, not realizing all that he accomplished in such a young age before he passed away. And so these extraordinary visionaries in today's episode draws from those powerful insights that I put inside the book. So now let's dive into something that might surprise you. And it's just not about having a brilliant idea or clear strategies. So as I started looking into and having worked with some of these great visionaries and also learned about these great visionaries, it's something much more fundamental. And it's much more human when you look at these visionaries and things and principles they all had in common. And all of them, not just one or the majority, but all of them had passion. And passion is a word that I love because it's really something that can come and go. And when you look at great visionary leaders and possibly what you're doing in your career, your life, whatever it happens to be, whether it be your profession, whether it be with your family, your wife, your friends, your kids, you got to have passion and be authentic around that passion in order for it to be accepted. And I say the fuel that drives that. And I say the fuel that drives that because it is difficult many times. You have bad days. I get it. But it's a bad day. It's not a bad year, not a bad decade. So it's one thing that you need to really be evaluating every day when you look at yourself in the mirror. Do you have a passion around what you're doing? And do you believe in what you're doing? Do you think you're making a difference in not only your life, but the life of your family, the life of your friends, and those colleagues that you work with, and also the team you may manage? So think about that. So passion might often sound, let's say, soft or intangible, maybe a little cliche-ish to some people, but when you look at the most successful visionary leaders throughout history, and having studied them for decades, passion isn't just a nice to have, it's the fuel that powers everything else that they do. And Nelson Mandela, and I love this quote from Nelson Mandela, he once said, "There's no passion to be found around playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of living." That quote perfectly captures what we'll explore today. So, how passion transforms not only ordinary leaders into visionaries, but also how they change the world. So I like to take the first step at this in my book where I talked about the foundation of innovation. And I talk a lot about disruption and innovation in the book, as I do with the Visionary Chronicles every week, that I talk about how to apply these principles to your day-to-day life. And many of them have all of these principles, but very few of them had some. They most have met all, and most of the leaders that I talk with have a few, but not all. So where do these great ideas of these visionary leaders come from? You know, many times people go, well, it's just luck of the draw. It's something that is inherent in their personality, their DNA. Sure, sometimes it's a flash of insight or a lucky accident. But more often than not, groundbreaking, disruptive innovations emerge from passion. Something that they really have a passion around. Now, think of yourself, and I'll give you a great example. If you have a passion around a project or a service or something that you truly and authentically believe in, are you more or less dedicated to it? Or do you have not as much passion, and when things start going south, you just dump it? So a deep enthusiasm for a particular field or problem that motivates someone to dig deeper, think differently, and refuse to accept the status quo is what passion is all about. So passion really serves as the origin, and I call it kind of this centrifuge of inspiration before innovation. And that's how it always happens, is that you have this passion around what you're doing and an idea that you believe in that turns an idea into an inspiration that then gets commercialized. When you're truly passionate about something, think about this. You don't just work on it from 9 to 5, right? You think about it in the shower. You wake up in the morning with these ideas. You see connections others miss because you're so immersed in the problem and finding a solution. This isn't about an obsession in an unhealthy sense, how most people think about it. It's about having such a, what I call, genuine, authentic enthusiasm for a field or challenge that exploration of it becomes natural. You're not forcing creativity. It flows from your deep engagement with the subject itself. This passion-driven inspiration becomes the foundation for groundbreaking work on almost all visionaries. And the cool thing about what I'm talking about is that if you take this to heart and you truly look at yourself in the mirror, ask yourself what you have a passion around in business and family life, with your children, whatever it happens to be. And are you authentic in that passion? Is there something that truly deep down you don't have a passion, and as a result, you're not achieving your best? It's what separates someone who has a good idea from someone who pursues that idea relentlessly until it becomes reality. And I often use the Thomas Edison story of the light bulb, where literally 10,000 experiments. And what was his reflection when he finally came up with the invention of the light bulb? It was, I found 9,099 ways it didn't work. And that's what you have to think about on ideas, and the ability for you to bring them to reality is failure is not an option when you're looking to succeed. Failure is the only option when you're looking to succeed. Not one great product, one great visionary has ever been made without multiple failures along their journey. The visionary leader doesn't see a problem and think, someone should fix that. They feel compelled to be the one who fixes it because it's a problem. It makes our life harder. That impulse is passion at its core. And the great thing about passion, the other point I make here, is that passion is really shared. You can infect other people on your team, your family, your children, whatever it is. Whatever you're passionate about, authentically passionate about on a day-to-day basis, not on a month-to-month or hour-to-hour, but passionately throughout your entire life or career. The most effective visionary leaders understand something critical. And that is that passion must be shared. You can't do it alone. I talked about this in the Visionary Leader book, where everybody works through teams. They have the humility to know not only do they need to work through teams in order for their idea to succeed, but by the way, they don't take credit for the idea. Other people do. They point to them and go, no, that was his idea. They don't take credit for it. They're humble. They know that there's another idea in their head that they can commercialize. They don't need the credit. They would rather give it to their team. And as a result, what does that build? That builds a passion around your team because you're authentic, willing to share credit, and you're humble. Having a vision is one thing. Getting others to believe in it, work toward it, sacrifice for it, requires the ability to transfer your passion to your team. Visionary leaders accomplish this through several powerful techniques. And I'll give you just a few, not all of them. I'm going to give you 5 separate points here. And the first is, and I often talk about this in the book, the interesting thing is everybody from Socrates to Steve Jobs had these. And the first is the ability to do storytelling. They create compelling stories around their vision, sharing anecdotes, resonate with their teams emotionally, and using metaphors that can abstract ideas and concrete and relatable. Steve didn't just sell computers. He sold the idea of putting a dent in the universe. That's incredibly powerful for your team. Not only putting a dent in the universe, talking about it, having the vision and the steps that establish a journey that people can walk along and then see the reality of that idea actually coming to fruition. That's an extremely powerful thing for a visionary to have. And you can have it as well. Be humble about what you're doing. Have great ideas, but understand that only becomes reality if you have a passion yourself that's authentic and you get shared through your team. The second is visible energy. I don't see this very often. With the teams that I work with and the brands that I work with, it's a rare commodity and a very rare principle to see with leaders. In general, actually, people are tired. It's a long day. They work beyond the 8 to 5. They just don't punch out at 5 and leave. They may leave at 5 or 7, 8 o'clock at night and then continue to think about their work at night. They're tired. But I can tell you the great visionary leaders have all had visible energy. Look at Satya Nadella, who's profiled in the book from Microsoft. That guy has incredible energy. Elon Musk doesn't sleep. Their passion shows in their expression, voices, and presence. This isn't manufactured enthusiasm. And you can't have it either. It's genuine and it's infectious around people. When a leader brings that kind of energy to their interactions, it really creates an atmosphere where others can't help but be passionate as well. It gets infected inside of people. So the one thing for you to be and have energy, invisible energy, but again, it has to be authentic. It can't be fake because that'll be sniffed out very quickly by your team, company, and brand as a whole. And the third is really open with their communications. They share updates on progress, setbacks, adjustments. The transparency of the brand, the company, and the team as a whole keeps them engaged because people feel they're a part of a journey, not just following orders from the leader. And they've always have their values aligned. Their enthusiasm is rooted in a deep commitment, and I say commitment, to upholding certain principles that they value, creating a sense of purpose that extends beyond individual ambitions or quarterly profits. Again, I go back to humility of sharing with your team the idea, but understanding and having the humility to understand you can't do it yourself. You need a team to execute it. Give them the credit. If you have any inkling of being a visionary, you need to ensure that you share credit and you're humble. because every visionary I profiled in the book knew they needed to do this, not because they were obligated to do it. They were authentic about giving them credit because guess what? They knew that right behind that great idea they just gave to their team, they've got another one coming down the pipeline that's just as good. So those that are insecure, those that aren't visionaries, those that are commodity brands, those that have no great ideas are insecure and they're not humble. And those aren't two good traits. And you want to make sure you don't have those if you aspire to have passion and have your team following you. And the fifth is a sustained commitment. And what I mean by this is passion isn't fleeting. It isn't one thing they do 1 hour next. And you've had bosses like this. You've had people you've seen in your community, whatever it is. It isn't one day they wake up and they got this great idea and they tell it to their team. And then the next day they go and forget about it and their team's asking about it. And they said, hey, what happened to your great idea? They go, oh, yeah, I just didn't feel that we wanted to continue to follow through with that. Well, you want to make sure that you're committed to your ideas and the passion around that idea, and that it isn't something that you're crying wolf every time you bring a new idea to the team, the company, or brand. They communicate an enduring commitment really to a long-term vision, providing a foundation for consistent effort and dedication from everyone involved. When leaders embody their values and work ethic, they expect from their teams, when they actively participate in executing processes rather than directing from above, as most insecure leaders do, that demonstrates personal commitment in a way that words alone cannot. Steve was down on the floor with his team, drawing with Johnny Ive. He was down there with him. He wasn't up in his ivory tower giving orders and then having them come back to him as if he was a dictator, telling them what they progressed with his great idea. He gave that back to them. He gave them a vision. He kept them on the path and the journey. I can tell you the greatest thing that I see from the visionaries I profiled in the books, in my book, The Visionary Leader, is look at yourself and understand people get lost on your journey unless you're directing them. And what I mean by that is that you're the only one that understands the steps to achieve your vision and the journey that it takes to get there. Because almost everybody inside of your company, team, whoever it happens to be, gets distracted. It's your job to ensure that you keep on track, that you make progress, you make steps towards your goal. The journey is not straight. I call it switchback leadership, where you got to keep switching back and forth. Just think of yourself going down a ski hill. Those black runs get pretty hard unless you have switchback. And so when you look at leadership, it's very similar. The path isn't always straight, but the destination is always the base of the mountain. Or in this case, the peak of the mountain. So there's also an emotional connection. Visionary leaders establish an emotional connection with their team. They don't just communicate the logical, strategic aspects of the vision. They really get personal about it. They say this can change your life, and actually it does. They convey the human dimension, why it matters, who it will benefit, and the world it will create. So think about in your business or with your family or whoever it happens to be, if you have a committed vision with a passion and you know why you have your why, what, where, when, and how of your vision and how it's going to impact others and why you're doing this, it's really a powerful thing to have in your hip pocket. This fosters a sense of shared purpose that extends beyond a paycheck or even a prestigious job title. So passion practically enhances communication skills as well. Communication skills where you're generally passionate about something, you can explain it to anyone. Investors, partners, community members, skeptics. And I've been blessed with this throughout my career, where I have the ability to be so passionate around something, and all the presentations that I've given, it's really becomes a bullet point presentation where I wrap my passion around those bullet points. You find the right words because you truly understand not just what you're doing, but why it matters to people. So again, passion is contagious. Think about this. And when a leader radiates this genuine enthusiasm, think of leaders you've been around where that's happened. Wouldn't you love to have that power around you with this enthusiasm through passion? Others want to join the cause with you. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. Passionate visionaries create environments where team members feel comfortable sharing their ideas, seeking guidance, and contributing to your vision. This accessibility, this approachability fosters collaborative and innovative cultures where best ideas can emerge from anywhere or anyone. That's why I say Seth Godin's quote of safe is risky. That's a great quote because you think about people go, why take the risk? That's what commodity companies think, not brands. So there's key aspects of emotionally connected leadership, which include celebrating success with genuine joy, whether small achievements or major milestones, which reinforce a positive atmosphere and motivates teams to continue their efforts. The second is investing in teams' members' growth. This isn't something that companies do a lot of. And I can tell you, the majority, if not all companies, will not invest in your team's teaching lesson for how fast our environment is moving with AI and everything else that's around us, not to invest in your team knowledge base is something that eventually catches up with you. So investing in your team members' growth, expressing passion, not just for the vision itself, but for each person's personal and professional development. It's critical that you have that. And the third point is understanding that passionate people fuel passionate projects. Create an environment of enthusiasm and achievement. Wherever you go, leave a vapor trail behind you. Wherever you go as to the most passionate person in the office, the project, brand, whatever it happens to be. And what I find is, I always talk about this forward-thinking process that visionaries have. They can see the future. It's called future casting. And passion looks forward because you see what's coming. Now think about this process that you go through as you're passionate. I say passion looks forward. Because of that, visionary leaders immerse themselves in problems yet to be solved. They understand the future is bright, not the present or the past. That's in the past. They need to think to the future as to how I'm going to make our world better, more efficient, more effective. They're continuously seeking new solutions, committed to innovation and disruption. This relentless problem solving, fueled by passion, has resulted in the development of revolutionary inventions throughout history. The visionaries who changed our world had a strong connection to their passion. They ensured unwavering commitment to whatever they did and the teams that they work with. This commitment is crucial for seeing an invention through from concept to realization. It helps leaders stay focused on their goals despite endless distractions. And I get people are going to be distracted throughout the day. And this is one thing you'll see in these work effectiveness books. And I'm such a big believer in it, is that block your time. Block your time from disruptions. Block your time from email. There's not been one email, I'm sure if you asked yourself an email so critical over the last decade that you needed to get back to somebody within an hour. And that holds true for everybody if they're honest with themselves. So it helps leaders stay focused on their goals despite endless distraction and competing priorities. Passion instills this willingness to take risks and explore these uncharted territories that those who don't want to take a risk refuse to venture into. Think of all the opportunity. There's a great book out there called Blue Ocean Strategy, and I love the title because what do you mean by Blue Ocean Strategy? You don't want to be fighting with those in shark-infested, bloodied waters where everybody's at trying to compete for the same food. You've got a wide blue ocean of opportunities around you that people aren't even looking at. When you're passionate about something, you're more likely to experiment with unconventional ideas, to push boundaries, to challenge what's commonly expected. This risk-taking mindset leads to groundbreaking inventions. So, forward-thinking, passionate leaders demonstrate these characteristics outlined here. So, these are some of the characteristics, again, not all, but I think they're really important for you to take a look at from an introspective standpoint. First is continuous learning. Too few leaders do not appreciate this principle. Their passion drives a thirst for knowledge. These visionaries who have a passion want to know and want to learn from others, not just themselves. And by the way, they don't just read business books. They read poetry. They listen to classical music. They keep their minds straight. They stay current with developments in their field and broader world, integrating new insights into their work and adapting to evolving information. They adapt. Just like you're working through AI now, you can be afraid of it or you can adapt to it. The second is inspiring confidence. Through their unwavering belief in the vision, they inspire confidence in others. I've been around visionaries like this, and it is incredible how inspiring they are and the passion they have around their company or their brand. Again, while I was at Oakley, Jim Gennard was one of these inspiring confidence leaders. He was a great visionary of Oakley that started it. So their confidence is contagious. It instills into us, and it kind of creates this environment and culture inside of the company or brand. So it's so important that you inspire confidence and you have continuous learning. And the third is long-term thinking. Fueled by passion, they think beyond immediate challenges, the current. They don't think of the current and envision the long-term impact of their work. Their perspective helps them make strategic decisions that contribute to sustained success rather than quick wins. So when you look at why you're implementing your ideas or the ideas that you're creating, one of the questions you need to ask yourself is this something that will give us sustained success, or is it something that's going to give us short-term success? And too many brands and companies I've seen over the years, think of all of them, that have fallen by the wayside. Almost every single one of these, in my first book, I outlined that in the Visionary brand, my first book. And almost all of them were short-sighted in their thinking and strategy. They were looking for the quick win to get them through a quarter. And eventually it was affected to them in the third and fourth quarter that they were out of business. So continuous learning, inspiring confidence, long-term thinking, and resilience are three principles you need to understand passionate leaders need to have. So kind of on the conclusion, people will ask me, why does passion, really matter? And visionary leaders face the same challenges anyone in a position of our authority faces, maybe even more. And what distinguishes them is how they overcome these obstacles. And that distinction comes down to passion, the passion that they have around their idea, the passion in working with their team, their brand, making it better, and the vision of the future. Passion is an essential motivator that comes from within. Only you can conjure this passion that you need to have that will fuel your creativity and the ideas that will eventually turn an innovation into a disruption. But it's genuine. It becomes a powerful force inside of you that others can feel. Passion-fueled motivation helps visionary leaders persevere through ongoing challenges and barriers. It's a driving force that keeps them persistent through setbacks, failures, and criticism. Just because you get criticism doesn't mean anything to these visionary leaders. They understand they're the only ones that can interpret the vision and realize that vision through their team members. It provides the resilience needed to continue refining their work when others would have given up. And again, I go back to Thomas Edison. So what if he had given up after 10 experiments? I think our life would have been a whole lot different, or delayed for a long period of time before the light bulb would have been invented. Unless we had someone as passionate as Edison around wanting to make our life better. Passion fuels a deep commitment to solving meaningful problems. And when you look at problems and you look at innovators, in the Visionary Brand and the Visionary Leader book, I outlined not only the leaders, but also their passion around the ideas. We're really for the betterment of humankind. So in essence, these visionary leaders harness their passion as fuel for creativity, perseverance, and innovation. And this emotional connection to the work drives individual success. Yes. But it influences the trajectory of entire industries and movements. And again, I say, not Apple lately. That's a long story I can talk about, but I can tell you when Steve was there, this is exactly what he did. The trajectory, you changed and influenced the trajectory of industries and movements. That's what he did. He put many dents in the universe, and we still use those today. It shapes technological investments, societal progress. Passion is what helps visionary leaders demonstrate unwavering commitment to their long-term vision when everyone else is focused on short-term results. So hopefully you've enjoyed today, and I've given you some good points on, really how you can do kind of this introspective on yourself and passion and why it matters and why you need to have this not only professionally, but also personally as well. Passion around your relationships, both personally and professionally. Passion and authentication around that, because we only live once. So, as I've been doing lately, I'm going to give you a closing challenge. What are you truly passionate about? That's a question I'm asking you. Not what should you be passionate about or what looks good on paper, but what generally excites you. This is what you're going to have genuine, authentic passion around, and what generates ideas in your head because you're thinking about it 24/7. What problem keeps you up at night? What solution do you dream about? So think about those questions. They're really introspective questions, but they're interesting. You could ask and put, and we whiteboard these with Liquid Mind when we work with our leadership sessions, we call them. And they're one-to-one advisories that we work with leaders on ensuring that they're keeping this innovation pipeline moving forward, that their leadership principles are in place, how to become visionary. We have all of these things that we talk with these leaders on. So if you can identify that passion and learn to share it, to let it fuel your resilience, to use it to inspire others, that's when you start moving from being just a leader to being a visionary. Remember, from Nelson Mandela, there is no passion to be found in playing small. So dream, motivate, and succeed. So thank you for tuning into the Visionary Chronicles today. If this episode resonated with you, I encourage you. This content is from my new book, The Visionary Leader. Shamelessly over my left shoulder here is the book, a recent Amazon business bestseller. And you grab a copy of The Visionary Leader, the success principles of the world's greatest visionaries. It's available now where all books are sold, and it's a perfect companion, I call it, to looking to reinvigorate your purpose or lead with more clarity in a complex world or drive your passion. And as a thank you to those listening to the Visionary Chronicles today, we've kept the price of the ebook at $199. So you can go to Amazon and get that ebook for $199. And really, this book is a culmination of decades of research, experiments, real-world insights into what made leaders like Abraham Lincoln, Steve Jobs, Leonardo da Vinci truly visionary. And once you've read it, would greatly, greatly appreciate if you wouldn't mind leaving a small review. It would be great, because what it does is it's not so much for me as it's about the algorithms that we work with today and getting the book out to those that need this information that we're talking about in the Visionary Leader. So your support means the world, and the purchase goes a long way in helping us to spread this vision even further. So the Visionary Chronicles, where the future is created by those bold enough to shape it. So until next time, keep innovating. As I always say, keep leading and keep shaping the future. Thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. As I always say, stay true, stay authentic, be different, be great, but enjoy the journey along the way.